Everyone thought Robin had already healed. That the cold, unreadable archaeologist we've watched for years had buried that terrified little girl forever. But the second she prepared to return to Elbaf, everything cracked wide open. And when she asked Brooke to cut off her long hair so she could look like her younger self again, that hit harder than almost anything One Piece has done in years. Because this wasn't about style. This wasn't nostalgia. This was Robin becoming that scared child one more time so she could finally face the man who gave up everything to keep her alive. That detail wrecked me. Think about what Oda is actually doing here. Robin, one of the most emotionally guarded characters in the entire series, someone who survived decades by building walls so thick nobody could ever reach her, willingly stripped away the image she built for herself. The mature, composed, untouchable Robin disappeared for a moment. And underneath was Nico Robin, age 8, standing in the ashes of Ohara all over again. That's brutal. And honestly, I think people underestimate just how horrifying Robin's story really is. We talk about tragic anime backstories all the time, but Robin's is on another level. This wasn't just losing family. This was the entire world declaring war on a child. At 8 years old. That still sounds insane when you say it out loud. The world government looked at a little girl and decided she was dangerous enough to erase. Not because of what she had done, but because of what she might one day uncover. That is one of the darkest political statements Oda has ever made in this story, and it's kind of wild how many fans gloss over it because One Piece wraps its trauma in colorful adventure. Robin wasn't chased because she was evil. She was hunted because she represented truth. And standing against that machine was Jaguar D. Saul. A giant who, on paper, should have just been another Marine following orders. Instead, he became the only person in Robin's collapsing world who chose compassion over obedience. That choice cost him everything. Picture that scene again. The bombardment of Ohara tearing the island apart. Fire everywhere. Scholars dying to preserve forbidden knowledge. A terrified child with nowhere to run. And then Saul, this massive awkward giant with that ridiculous laugh, throwing himself between Robin and total annihilation. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew standing against the government was suicide. He did it anyway. That's what makes Saul different from so many heroic sacrifices in anime. There was no grand speech about justice. No dramatic declaration. Just a man looking at a frightened child and deciding her life mattered more than his own. And then came the line that carried Robin for 20 years. You have to keep living. The sea is vast. Someday, you'll find friends who will protect you. That wasn't just comfort. That was prophecy. What destroys me about Robin's journey is how impossible that must have sounded to her at the time. Imagine hearing those words after everyone you've ever trusted is dead, your home is gone, and the entire world has labeled you a monster. Who would believe that? For 2 decades, Robin drifted through betrayal after betrayal. She was used by criminals, hunted by assassins, manipulated by anyone who wanted access to her knowledge. Every alliance was temporary. Every connection came with an expiration date. And this is where I think One Piece gets way more psychologically sophisticated than people give it credit for. Robin didn't become emotionally detached because she was naturally cold. She became cold because hope was dangerous. The second you trust someone, they can betray you. The second you believe you belong, that belonging can be ripped away. That kind of trauma changes how a person survives. Which is exactly why Enies Lobby still hits like a truck. When Robin finally screamed that she wanted to live, that wasn't just a dramatic anime moment. That was 20 years of suppressed terror exploding out of her. And here's the controversial part. I honestly think Robin's "I want to live" scene is more emotionally devastating than Ace's death. Yeah, I said it. Ace's death was shocking. It was tragic. It changed everything for Luffy. But Robin's breakdown was something deeper. It was the complete collapse of a trauma response she had spent her entire life building. Watching her finally believe she deserved saving after decades of believing the opposite is one of the most powerful emotional payoffs Oda has ever written. And the Straw Hats made Saul's prophecy real. Luffy declaring war on the world government. Sojin burning the flag. The crew standing there, essentially telling Robin that the entire world could come for her and they still wouldn't let go. That was the moment Saul's words stopped being hope and became reality. Robin had found her people. But then Oda somehow made it hurt even more. Because just when we all accepted Saul's death as one of the story's great tragedies, Egghead dropped one of the most emotional reveals in recent memory. Vegapunk casually reveals that after Ohara was destroyed, he saw a giant covered in burns salvaging the scholar's books from the wreckage. And the second that detail landed, everything changed. Saul survived. After being frozen by Aokiji, the flames of Ohara thawed the ice. That image alone is unbelievable. Saul emerging from the destruction that was supposed to kill him, scarred and burned, yet still focused on preserving Ohara's knowledge. Not revenge. Not escape. Knowledge. That says everything about what he understood was at stake. And then comes the part that absolutely shattered me. He waited. For 20 years. 20 years on Elbaf, believing Robin would someday come. Just sit with that for a second. This man risked his life to save a little girl, survived impossible odds, and then spent 2 decades holding on to faith that she had made it. That she kept living. That she'd find her way back. That kind of loyalty feels almost unreal. And Robin knew exactly what this reunion meant. That's why she cut her hair. That's why she chose to approach him not as the composed scholar of the Straw Hats, but as the little girl he saved. Because in that moment, she wasn't Nico Robin the Devil Child. She wasn't the archaeologist chasing the void century. She was just Robin, the child who survived. The child he told to keep living. And now she's returning exactly as promised, except this time she isn't alone. She's bringing the proof that his faith was justified. Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Chopper, Frankie, Brook, Jinbe. The family Saul promised was waiting somewhere out there in the endless sea. That's what makes this reunion so devastatingly beautiful. It isn't just about seeing each other again. It's about validation. Robin's survival validated Saul's sacrifice. And Saul's survival validates Robin's hope. For 20 years, each of them carried belief in the other without certainty. Now that belief becomes real. Honestly, this might be one of the sweetest acts of emotional rescue Oda has ever written. Not because it's flashy, not because it's dramatic, but because it feels earned. 20 years of pain, 20 years of waiting, 20 years of unanswered grief finally collapsing into one impossible reunion. And when that moment finally happens on screen, when Robin sees him standing there after all this time, I already know it's going to destroy people. Because this isn't just a reunion between two characters. It's a promise kept across decades. Proof that sometimes the people who save us never truly leave. They just wait at the other side of the storm until we're finally strong enough to find them again.
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell to the later update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end and see you in the next video.